people can hear me. So welcome once again. Again, more technical issues. The more you try to solve things, the more other things arise. I'm going to jump right into our topic: how to choose the right brand imagery for your business. Um, just about me one more time because the mic was muted. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm the host of a podcast. I run a marketing agency here in Toronto. We do branding and web design specifically for construction and interior designers. And we've been doing this for a while now. We've been able to learn and accrue some key things that could actually help you as you try to piece together the elements of a website and those type of brandings that go with it. It's beyond just aesthetics. And of course, everybody wants their website to be attractive. They want it to look good. They want it to represent them well. But does that mean that it will be well received by the audience that we're talking about? And that's why we're actually talking about how to create brand imagery for your business that actually resonates. It's not just what you feel is the best. It's actually what the clients and the customers feel is best and is working on a consistent basis. And just off the top, there's so many examples of this, and we're going to talk through a couple of examples. But as anyone who's running a business, it's your job to figure out how to create a website that looks good for your client and their audience, but also tells an effective story about the brand. So this is where it gets a little bit harder for people that are looking to build a website that actually resonates, or people that are looking to build a holistic brand that resonates. Designers do a lot of work choosing brand imagery when they're working with a brand. And the issue that sometimes people might find themselves is you can use some of these easy tools that you can DIY, build a site, build a logo. The expertise that a real professional provides is going to be in how they are able to weave together what you say is most important and add the visuals that actually match that and can create those sentiments, those nuances that make people feel like they're really resonating with you, and they're really resonating with what you're doing. So if you're watching this and you feel the exact same way, you're like, yeah, I've tried building a website maybe with Squarespace or with Wix, go ahead and put that in the comments. And let me know, yeah, that's me. Because you're not alone. And a lot of times people who need a website are not the right person to build the website. Just because you want a website does not mean you know how to piece it together. And when you hire a real professional, you get the benefits of what works and what doesn't work. And you get the expertise, the training of a designer, somebody who has designed something and understand how the customer is going to journey through the story that they're producing for you. So let's talk about it. What is brand imagery? This is the hard part, right? This is where it gets a little bit more tedious, and people maybe misconstrue the ideas of what that really means. So with brand imagery, it's a visual representation of your brand's core message. So sometimes when we're working with clients, they don't even have a core message. But think of it this way: what exactly do you do, and how do you do it? How is it unique to you? That's your real core message, okay? And that's how you can craft a statement that kind of says it very plainly: what makes you special, what exactly that you do, how will the customer benefit from it, and what are the long-term goals of it. And you can create a brand core message. And once you have brand imagery, the results of the elements consumer associate with your brands can be communicated in various forms, like visuals, experiences, feelings, tastes. So brand imagery, there's two kind of ways for you to kind of think of it. The difference between a brand imagery and a brand image. Okay, so a brand image is McDonald's is a fast food chain. It delivers, affordable food, cheap food that tastes the same every single time. It's consistent. It's fast food. It's everywhere. Imagery is how McDonald's wants you to perceive they treat their employees. It's how McDonald's wants you to think about them being at the NASCAR 500. So we're going to talk a little bit more about McDonald's and a few other examples as well, so people can kind of understand what that means. But think of it this way: like brand imagery can be unique to each customer. Like Coca-Cola, how does it taste? What does it smell like? What does Coca-Cola stand for? What do they represent? What color is Head and Shoulders? Why does NBC? What does NBC sound like? The NBA. And it's not just a basketball and a net. It's not just a soft drink. People are talking about the colors, the images, the textures, the nuances, the nostalgia. All of that plays a factor in how the imagery makes you feel. And anyone who's ever done any type of marketing, you understand you're not selling products or goods or services. You're selling a feeling. You're selling how people are going to feel. If they feel a certain way, then that emotion, that compulsion will lead to a sale. So if you're in the business of trying to get sales, if you're in the business of trying to build a business through your website, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's awareness, if you make them feel a certain way, then they'll feel a connection. That connection is what's going to help draw them. Think of it this way: if without knowing a commercial, could you imagine an IKEA commercial? The type of images they would be, the type of music or sound effects they would use in the commercial, the filming, the style of filming, right? IKEA has this very playful, tongue-in-cheek, we know we're a little bit quirky and weird, and they play to that. And they know the names are a little bit complicated, and they understand that nobody likes building IKEA furniture. And so they use that to create imagery that helps relate to the person who is thinking about them, rather than talk about who they are, what they do. They're actually saying, how will you perceive us? And that's what we're actually going to talk about. Think about the same thing with like Target. You can imagine a Target ad. It is lots of high key images. High key just means like the brightness or the brightest part of the images are really over accentuated, and lots of high contrast, lots of fun, lots of polka dots, because they like the dot with the circle around it. They tie that in everywhere in their branding, lots of red. You can almost be the director of the next Target commercial, because they've done such a good job of creating that brand imagery that is impregnated in our minds. So the difference between brand imagery, brand image, it's who is actually going to be using the information. If we're talking about ourselves, then that's brand image. What is our image? How do we want to be perceived? When we're talking about brand imagery, is how others perceive us. And we have to create that feeling so we can kind of help people along the way to get them to the place where they're ready to buy, subscribe, like, follow, all those different things. The brand imagery you choose for a company can affect how it's perceived. Brand identity is bigger, and it's a bigger matter that can be affected by various factors. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use brand imagery, and some examples: logos, photography, illustration, iconography, the videos, the animation, the color palette, composition rules. Some people use certain fonts a certain way only, so that it always looks and feels the same. Some brand imagery elements are essential for all websites, like a color palette, a logo, all that type of stuff. Photos, however, it depends on the visual style you want to develop for your brand, like filters, illustrations, animations, all those things that happen on a website or on a brand or on a social app. That's how people are going to perceive your company, and they're going to understand maybe the tonality or the tone of your brand. And are you a fun? Are you a nostalgic? Are you a brand that taps into the heritage of the identity? That's kind of the stuff that brand imagery helps us achieve. So let's look at an example. Let's look at McDonald's, because we already used McDonald's a few times. Okay, here are a couple. This is on McDonald's site right now. They got the sweetie sweet takes at the bottom there. They got the Big Mac, the fries, the sauce, the Sprite. But if you look a little bit deeper, you'll actually see a little bit even more. It has the signature yellow arches, irregardless if you go back 5 years, 7 years, 10 years on their website, you would have made see their logo, the signature, the yellow arches. The yellow is on the order now. That's part of the imagery. The red or reddish shades in the hero image. This image here changes with time. Things that become cool, things that become relevant. If you went back a couple of weeks or a month ago when they had the BTS or the Space Jam feature on, it also had tons of the red, which also plays into the factor in how they do their imagery. It also perfectly quaffs French fries and hamburgers and perfectly staged food that looks so appetizing. That's McDonald's, and it doesn't matter if it's a different brand that they're working with or a different promotion that they have. That's going to be how they perceive they want their customers to perceive their brand. Like, we're fun, we're relevant, we're part of culture, we are the culture. And that's why they partner with movies like with LeBron James or with Sweetie or with BTS. They want you to understand that they are cool, relevant, hip, that they want you to see that their branding surpasses time, space, or era, and that they're always going to be relevant. 10, 20 years from now, whatever is cool or relevant will be on the McDonald's website. You don't even need to see the name McDonald's on here. If I took away the yellow arch here and the logo up here, and if I took away the word McDonald's off of this website, if I showed you this to you, I give you 60 seconds, you'd probably pick McDonald's every single time. So these are some of the benefits you can have, okay, when you take the time to properly define your brand imagery. Your visuals become just as recognizable as the company name or logo. Like I just said, you remove the brand logo, the branding still speaks for itself. The imagery still helps. This is how you can move people from being on the fringes of understanding who you are or who your brand is into the core center of, like, I'm an advocate. I'm here for all whatever you're doing. I want to be a part of it. The unique style sets your brand apart from the competition. You don't have to actually compete in the same way that you would normally do, because you have a differentiating factor. And that factor is actually going to help you stand apart. You're doing your own thing. You're speaking your own way, your own language with your customer. And it's kind of like an inside track that you have. And ultimately, we're always trying to do that. We're trying to get in with our customers so that they're not just, oh, just a transaction. I give you money, you give me a service. You want to be like, no, you're integrated into my process, into my business, into my life. Number 3, leave prospects with a memorable impression every time they interact with. Right? When you go to Apple, Apple does things in a certain way that makes you feel a certain way every time you interact with them. Wow, it was easy. It was simple. I remember the first time I ever went to an Apple store and someone mentioned to me that I could just open up my store app and pay for it with my phone and walk out. And I remember thinking, of course, Apple would think different. They would be like, we know the are busy, but that's kind of our hype. We like that. But at the same time, if we want people to get in and get out, we have a way for them to do that. And I remember thinking, as I paid for my phone case and walked out of the store without ever talking to anybody, I remember thinking, oh, this is so Apple. The first store that I would ever have this type of interaction with, it would be, of course, it would be Apple. Type of integration. Number 4, you can tell your story without having to use words. And this one I think is the best. When you see certain commercials, I live in Canada, we have this coffee company called Tim Hortons, and they had this great commercial where there was a new immigrant family coming, and there was only 3 words in the whole commercial, and this family, it's cold, and we live in the cold. In wintertime, it's freezing here. If they're in the cold, and this family's coming from, they're a black family, so it could be the Caribbean, it could be Africa, it could be from anywhere else. They're not used to it, so they stop at a store, they pick up big jackets, they're loading the luggage into the car, they get into the apartment complex, they lug everything upstairs, and then she hands him a coffee that she had there for him, and she goes, "Welcome to Canada." They didn't say Tim Hortons, the coffee company, in the commercial, but Tim Hortons is very synonymous with Canadian culture, and they've worked really hard at doing that. They weren't selling a product, they were not selling anything. They were talking and speaking directly with their customers without having to use any of the selling, any words really other than "Welcome to Canada," which means nothing to you unless you understand and you watch the commercial and you're like, wow, that's a really powerful commercial. They're aligning themselves with "We are Canada." And that's the imagery that speaks that way. And it was very powerful. So number 5, your design choices bring up nostalgia and other positive feelings within your audience. Like I just mentioned, there's things that now you have traction with your audience, and you can actually play to the nostalgia, especially when you know their persona, you know exactly who you're speaking to, you know their age, their demographic. You can now speak to memories that they have because they were born in the 60s or they were born in the 80s. You can see that clear as day with a lot of brands. When you look at, let's say, Mercedes-Benz, they are using certain typography for people, certain typography, certain images, certain status images that appeals to the boomer generation, the key demographic of people who are going to be have the disposable income to purchase a Mercedes-Benz. It's going to be people born in the 60s, people born in the 50s that are going to purchase these types of vehicles. And then you can see there's a shift in how they promote certain ads. We'll say on Instagram, they don't look the same way. Those ones are the ones where it's like the G-Wagon flying through the snow because they're speaking specifically to that target. And they're playing into that nostalgia of like, yeah, look at this big, this rugged vehicle. So those are, the last one, reliable visuals give prospects even more reason to connect with the brand. Again, the more you speak the language, the more they're going to feel comfortable with you. And if they feel comfortable with you, they have more and more reasons to connect with you because they're like, they actually get me. And that's why, people who love outdoors and hiking and trailing and all that different type of stuff, there are certain brands that have a lock on the industry because the more they play those images or the imagery, meaning the color, the brand, the tone, the aesthetic completely, people are like, they totally get what I'm doing. Up here we have something called the Mountain Equipment Co-op. I know in America they have REI. I know there's even a company like Salmons or Patagonia. These companies have a grip on the clientele because they show commercials, they show ads, their websites all reflect all the values that these types of customers are attracted to. So we're going to talk a little bit about some examples here. I know we're running a little bit out of time. If you do have any questions, feel free to put it inside our comment section, the chat, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on creativepartner.ca. You can send me a message, just send me an email, and we'll answer all the questions afterwards. We're going to get the chat working on the website too. Eventually, we're going to get there, guys. Thanks for joining, by the way. So let's talk about a couple of examples of some of the things that are really good on certain websites that we can talk about and we can learn from. The first thing I want to talk about is MeUndies. Underwear company. They're, I think, D2C. They're direct to consumers. There's a lot of cool things that MeUndies is doing, but we got to talk about, what exactly are we seeing on the website right now? So MeUndies website uses an expansive color palette that rivals its equally expansive underwear line. They have a new one every single month, I believe. unpredictable shapes, layouts, emojis. This imagery sets a clear tone for fun, youthful brand. They are like super inclusive, different body shapes, different body types, different ethnicities. That's why you see the packaging, the logo, the branding is all set to match that imagery. And then whoever designs their website or the in-house design team, they use imagery to match the values or understanding that the clients would have about the company. This is huge. This is a big role in how people perceive your company. Let's also look at Jeep. They use big, expansive, fields, right? Like this is who they're talking to, the outdoors people that want rugged personality. They show off the attractive photos, but they rugged settings, neutral, sans serif, bold, all caps. This is like, heck yeah, I got a Jeep. You know what I mean? And they speak that language to their customers. They don't wait with something dainty or small. They don't have super artistic photography. It's very cut and dry. What you see, what you get. No nonsense approach to the brand actually plays a part in how the brand is perceived and how people can relate with them. I guarantee you most of their customer base are no nonsense people. I want a car or a Jeep or a vehicle that will last a long time, reliable, looks cool, rugged, take it camping, take it off-roading, take it down to the beach, all those types of things. They just give it to me, I want it now. Let's look at one more. This is a company called Nudie Jeans. Yeah, Nudie Jeans is a great example, design website. Their website, I love their website. I go to it a lot of times for inspiration, especially for an e-commerce type website. They have simple photography, predictable layout, bite-sized text if you scroll down, using filters and photos that give a retro or vintage vibe. This way the content isn't itself compromised by overly vintage touches. But people get to see the actual products, and it's very simple. They kind of play to a simpler time, and that really helps the brand speak to the demographic and to the nostalgia, the era, the people that want that vintage look. That's kind of how they want to perceive the brand to be perceived, and the language they want to speak to their customers. And people who like that will interact with that and engage with that. Those are just a few examples. I know we're running out of time. I do want to talk about how you can choose the right brand imagery for your business. So there's a couple of questions here. You can write these down. Answer these questions and you'll get a better sense of the tone and the aesthetics. How would you describe your business? With 3 words would you describe your personality of your company? Are you guys fun? Are you guys happy? Are you guys historical, nostalgic? Are you guys serious? Are you guys corporate? Are you guys, it doesn't matter what it is, figure it out. What are your company's top values? Which websites do you love the look of and why? What reaction do you want to elicit from your audience? This is very, very key. How do you want people to feel? What reaction do you want them to give off when they see your site or when they go to your site consistently for information? Does your brand have a connection to a time, an era, a place? All these things play a huge part. Think of like Guinness. They play up the fact that they have Irish roots, and that is when it was. All these different things played a big part in the brand. I don't know which country drinks more Guinness. I would assume America. Just the marketplace is so much bigger, but they don't play to America's culture. They want you to know the heritage of the brand, and that's how they build the brand imagery. I hope this is really nice because you can get, if this is and you need some help putting this all together, the best thing that you can do is to put all this on a design style guide, which will really help you put everything in one place. And that can help you when you're building the website, the social media, the banners, the newsletters, the email things. So put it on a style guide. We have one for free for you guys. Just go to creativepartner.ca/brand imagery, and you'll be able to put your name there and we'll send you an email. You can steal ours. It's very easy to use, gives you a couple of examples. It's a basic one, of course, but it definitely will help you if you're in the starting phases of thinking about your brand imagery, and a style guide to help you guys do that. And if you guys are looking for more help in terms of, how to make your brand stand out, now's the time. We do a pretty in-depth intake in our marketing strategy process just to learn about you, your business, and how we help create brand imagery that stands the test of time, that speaks to your values, and that helps your audience relate to you in a way that matters to them. So hopefully this has been really helpful for you guys. I'm super excited for these webinars that we've been doing. Feel free to look around on the YouTube channel or on the website to see more of our content. Thanks again for being here. All right, that's it for me from now. My name is Bart. Peace out.